I'm now going to introduce you to our next speaker, who is an absolute dynamo. And there are no questions as to why that is when you realise that she's Bill Moss's beautiful daughter, Natalie Moss. She's going to update us on the science and the progress that the Foundation is making with medical research. Please welcome the girl behind it all, FSHD's Global Managing Director, the gorgeous Natalie Moss, newly a mother.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Facioscapulohumeral muscular dystrophy is commonly misdiagnosed and generally misunderstood. 8 years ago, we created the Sydney Chocolate Ball, an event inspired by chocolate and champagne. But ironically, what is most inspiring tonight is the science behind the disease. Tonight, I'm going to simplify the science so you can truly appreciate the phenomenal impact the FSHD Global Research Foundation has had in pioneering world-class medical research in advancing treatments for a cure to this disease. I have been involved with this foundation for 9 years, and I'm excited to share with you 2 key initiatives we intend to implement in the coming year to help fast-track our aim for a cure. But first, I'd like to explain what makes this foundation so special to me. This foundation has impact, speed, honesty, and a tone of desperation. It is led by a man who suffers from the disease and is run by his daughter, whose passion is known as being infectious. And how can it not when you slowly watch your father waste away? You see, people don't die from FSHD, they rather die from the consequences of the progressive muscle wasting in the body. At some stage, the muscles in your throat die and you can no longer eat or swallow. The muscles in your diaphragm will die and you can no longer breathe. The muscles in your arms, your legs die, in your face, around your eyes, your mouth, around your voice box, and it continues. The progression often comes in bursts with sudden deterioration, followed by periods of no change. And as you can imagine, the loss of skeletal muscle has a huge impact on your quality of life, making even the most simplest tasks complicated. Without muscles, our bodies cease to function. The future for someone with FSHD is uncertain because there are no treatments and no cure. So what is FSHD? The key event in FSHD is the undesired production of the DUX4 protein in muscle cells, which causes them to waste away. Let's take a closer look at the DNA of someone with FSHD and how it compares to the DNA of a healthy person. So if we look at the 4th chromosome on the DNA structure, we will see in healthy muscle cells, the DUX4 gene is repressed. In other words, it's closed, it's switched off, meaning there is no DUX4 protein available to attack muscles. However, people with FSHD have a genetic mutation on this chromosome, resulting in this region to open or turn on, allowing this DUX4 protein to escape and attack one's muscles. The DUX4 protein sets in motion a cascade of toxic events causing accumulated inflammation and muscle death. If we were to look through a microscope to compare healthy muscle tissue with FSHD tissue, you can see the damage from the toxic protein as the muscle fibres become thin and weaken. As the DUX4 spreads throughout the skeletal muscle cells, your cells die and they are replaced by fat. This is irreversible. FSHD is arguably one of the most complex and convoluted diseases currently known. It is complicated. However, in a short period of time, our funding has enabled researchers to develop a better understanding of the mechanisms of FSHD, and today has led us to a new era of drug discovery and clinical trial readiness. The past 12 months has seen significant advancements in the field of FSHD. With this foundation, the FSHD Global Research Foundation creating educational toolkits for patients, GPs, and allied health professionals, empowering awareness and improving guidelines for clinical care. We have funded a new diagnostic pathway for patients by implementing whole genome sequencing methods, which allows us to map a person's entire genome, in other words, mapping the blueprint of the body, allowing us to investigate the genetic cause of this disease. We have launched the inaugural Monica Ellis Children's Medical Research Grant, having funded Australia's very first clinical trial into infantile FSHD. And if that is not enough within the past 12 months, we part-funded the biotech Faciostherapies that my father briefly touched upon, who have achieved remarkable results in drug screening and discovery. I personally find this biotech project incredibly exciting. Simply put, Faciostherapies are using human muscle biopsies, human FSHD muscle biopsies, to screen over 34,000 compounds in search for drugs that will stop the toxic DUX4 protein destroying muscles. This is rather special, as drug discovery projects usually use animal models, and as you can imagine, a drug that works on a mouse may not work on a human. So to use human tissue is one thing, but to use FSHD-affected human tissue is a whole other challenge, as FSHD tissue dies. Facio have not only overcome this challenge, but as you can see from their recent results, they have discovered over 300 compounds that have either reduced or substantially stopped the toxic protein causing muscle wasting. This is outstanding and incredibly exciting. Whilst this is a project that requires further funding, within 5 years, they anticipate to have discovered the first human clinical trial with an effective drug to stop the disease by 2021. But as you can start to see, there is phenomenal research at this foundation and phenomenal research at our fingertips, offering real hope for those living with FSHD. But as you can also appreciate, research is expensive and takes time. So where do we go from here? We have a vision. In 2017, we aim to establish an Australian-first FSHD Centre of Excellence located at a leading Sydney hospital. The foundation will fund the world's best diagnostic equipment and employ a postdoctoral fellow for this centre solely dedicated to researching FSHD. This centre would enable patients to have accurate diagnosis and create facilities for future clinical trials in our own backyard. We seek $500,000 to establish this Centre of Excellence and turn to you tonight for support. Another project we intend to fund this year is a respiratory sleep study. The distribution of muscle weakness in FSHD can affect the diaphragm, along with reduced lung volume impacting on breathing and cough effectiveness. This study will cost $100,000 and help identify the degree and type of respiratory dysfunction in an FSHD cohort and how this relates to sleep-disordered breathing. This study would be a world first and improve the quality of life of people suffering from this disease using ventilation therapies. These are only 2 of many research grants the Foundation would like to initiate this year, as by the end of the month, we will have received a number of submissions from scientists, researchers and clinicians from all around the world requesting much-needed funding for their medical research grants. So your support here tonight will dictate how many of those projects we can take on to support. As you can see, this foundation is unique. We are not only funding worthwhile research, we are actively involved in changing the medical landscape of this disease and doing so at a rapid pace. but we can't do this without you. As we near the end of financial year, please consider making a donation tonight to support a cause that truly is changing the world. Be part of our movement and help us find a cure for this terrible disease that we could very well find treatments and potentially a cure by 2021. So thank you, enjoy your evening, and good night.